Good morning and welcome to the first ever Intune for MSPs meetup. And also, it may be afternoon or evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us. I'm Andy Rostad. You're going to be hearing later on from Lior, Bela, and I've been practicing this, Jeroen Burgerhout. He'll tell me how well I did later on. Hey, that's pretty good. But we are your Intune for MSPs host for meetup number 1. Today is January 20th, 2026. And let's get right into it, shall we? Thanks for being here. We're coming at you on LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and if you're on Tech Community Live, that's the best experience perhaps because you'll be able to put your questions in the comments. Just a little bit more about me. Again, I'm Andy Rostad. I've been on the Microsoft Intune team for about 4 months, and I'm going to be your host, your like MSP representative for the calls that we're going to have over at least the next 6 months. What's today's call going to look like? Well, for those of you who are here but not really sure why, I'm going to do a quick 2-slide refresher on Intune. Lior is going to come and speak to you about what it is that we're trying to do with the Intune for MSPs hashtag. And then I'm going to fill you in on the progress we've made so far, emphasis on the progress we've made so far. And then you're going to hear from a peer. Jeroen is a double MVP, and he has a ton of real-world experience that he's going to share with you. So if you don't like what I have to say, don't worry, stick around. He's got amazing content. And then we're going to wrap up with what's next, what's coming up in a news you can use kind of format. So as promised, what is Intune? I think this video does a really great job of describing it. But basically, if access to your company's resources and data was a nightclub, Intune is the bouncer for devices, right? Making sure that only the right devices get in. And as you can see there, that device was compromised or not compliant, as we say, and so it doesn't get access to your resources. So that's what Intune's role is. Entra does identity, Intune does devices, and it does devices across platform. I need to hit this point because our research shows that not everybody knows it's not just Windows. We also do Mac, iOS, Android, and even some Linux devices. So that's a quick refresher on what is Intune and where can you find Intune. These are the licenses that include Intune. Don't try to read the whole slide. The point is there's a lot here. There are a lot of Microsoft licenses that your customers may already buy that entitle them to Intune. There's a lot of places that Intune is included. And for some of you, maybe you're not recommending these licenses to your client, and that's what Intune for MSPs is about. We think that the future is really in a unified stack. So these are the licenses that include Intune. The good news is that some of your customers are already paying for it. Some even better news, the Intune suite, if you know what that is, its advanced capabilities, is coming. We announced this at Ignite. It's coming to Microsoft E3 and E5, Microsoft 365, E3 and E5 licenses. And the reactions from online that we've cherry-picked here are all pretty positive. Now, a lot of the reactions, and before you ask this question in the chat, are what other licenses, what other SKUs are going to include this Intune suite value? And I know it's an important question, and I know it's frustrating, but I can't answer that question. I can only say that I don't have any more information about that at this time. But later this year, Intune suite coming to Microsoft 365, E3 and E5. At the end of the call, I'm going to share a link where you can read the blog and the announcement and get some more of those details. Now, I said there was a lot of good news, and we're here on this meetup mission to really understand what you need as a managed service provider. Like, I've done a little bit of research. I mean, there was a good deal of research in trying to understand. We've been trying to pull together resources to help managed service providers, but you are going to be the best resource we have for making these future calls better. We want to understand your needs and respond with useful and relevant resources. To give you some background and context, I'm ready to introduce the man himself, Lior Bela. He is the director of business growth for the Microsoft Intune. Slide. I can't hear you applaud, but please help me welcome.
I can hear something from far, far away. Hi, Andy. Thank you so much for having me. Truly excited to be on this call. Why? Because we've been talking about this specific call for over a year. if not longer than that. We, about a year and a half ago or so, we start investigating how we can bring the Intune goodness to everyone. And we realized that a lot of customers saw Intune as an enterprise solution, which is a valid comment. But we realized that Intune has a lot more than just enterprise customers. We are reaching out to all customers, whether you have 5 employees or you have 5,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 employees. Intune is a solution that includes all of the licenses, as Andy just shared that. And we went and did the research, and Andy's gonna go deep dive into it a little bit later. But what is the reason that we're not everyone aware of these capabilities of Intune? And we learned that when we reach out all over the world, and we learned that Intune has some challenges from the perspective of awareness, of education, from a training perspective, from a marketing perspective. A lot of MSPs sees Intune as a solution that is a complex solution for them to adopt and takes a lot of skills. But the good news is that it's not exactly accurate. Intune has developed a lot over the years, and if you've seen, as Andy mentioned, we expanded from the Windows ecosystem to the Mac OS and iOS and Android, and we have some Linux support, and we have specialty device support. We have a lot of support. We have all over the place. So Intune is becoming to be a centralized endpoint management across all of your devices, whether it's a mobile devices, desktop devices, stationaries, whatever you need, whatever they run. We have partnership with Samsung and Knox and a lot of those great benefits. And it's already included in your customer licenses. So, which means that we are not trying to sell you anything over here. We are telling you, use it. Use it. It exists there. So the good news over there is that over the next calls, and so we will bring you the resources that you need to make sure that you are comfortable of expanding the Intune and Entra and Defender and Copilot adoption within your customer base, to make sure that you're giving them the biggest benefits. It's what we heard and from our MSPs, what we learned with them in the next slide, is that we have a lot of challenges from an MSP perspective. One of the challenges, it's regulation. So many regulations. And for those of you in Europe, I hear you. Yes, it's painful. And with regulations come a lot more compliance. And with compliance comes a lot more processes. And with processes comes more complexities. And you don't want to sit out there and just focus on constantly reading the news of the EU or whatever it is, of what's the new regulations that come to place. You want to feel safe and you want to feel comfortable that you have the correct tools to do all of this with conditional access and policies and everything else. So regulation is complex and requires a lot of time. Talent is precious. First of all, finding the right talent is complex. Paying for the right talent, oh my God, it's expensive. However, talent is also, you need to find someone with the expertise, with the knowledge, with the skill set, and it's getting more and more complex. And we have a mission over here to help you solve and address it as well. Another thing that we heard is IT and MSP in general is a commodity, because everyone offering the same solution, same solution. You take the same type of capabilities around patch management, onboarding, ticketing, and you package it under your MSP solutions, and then you sell it to your customers. The problem is it's very hard to differentiate between you and others, because it's getting to a level that everyone are fairly similar. And with that being said, what's happening is you're going after the cost. And the last thing that you want to do is to fight or challenge yourself with other MSPs around cost. No one really wants to reduce cost and start losing money. You want to focus on growing your business and provide more benefits and more services to your customers. So instead of focusing on how you're reducing the price and competing against others, you want to bring more capabilities. And this is what the Microsoft 365 capabilities bring you. So it's not only endpoint management, and it's not only deployment, and it's a MEM, application management. It's a cross-platform management for Mac OS. You have Entra with identity. You have Defender for endpoints. You have, I don't know if you heard about it, it's a new product called Copilot. Copilot capabilities. A lot of your customers wants to do the AI adoption and the Copilot, but everyone hear about it in the news. Every news media talks about it. However, how do you do it? And they're going to look up to you as the MSPs to do it. And let's admit it, it's not just turning on a toggle and it's all good. You need to do data classifications. You need to make sure that the AI doesn't reach out to documents you're not supposed to reach out. You give them the correct access rights. You want to identify the correct processes that you can automate with AI agents. You want to give more powers, and you want to give more education. And this is something that we are looking to do here and help you to adopt. And of course, margin. So margin is the differentiation between your costs and revenue, right? So we're talking about here about adding more revenue opportunities. You want to give your customers that think about only give me some ticket support. You want to give them more capabilities because SMBs deserve to be secure. Enterprises deserve to be secure. The fact that you don't have a dedicated security team doesn't mean that your organization should not be secure. We know how vulnerable SMBs are, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later. So you want to increase the revenue opportunity with the premium solutions such as security, AI readiness, and all of those capabilities. But on top of it, you want to reduce your costs. So let's imagine that you're using Autopilot. Autopilot allows you to deploy devices automatically. So there is a lot less processes that you need to take internally. Same thing about ticketing. When you use Intune, Entra Defender, and the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, there is a lot of remediation, proactive remediation capabilities. With that being said, you are able to reduce a lot of tickets from a password perspective or MFA or all of those capabilities. You are able to manage more devices. You are able to control the devices, and you are able to address the devices based on the need. If it's an employee cell phone that just need access to Outlook and HR, you have MEM. If you need to manage the device completely, it's a MDM. If you want to bring consultant or auditors, you need to give them some sets of access. You also use Windows 365 as well. There is a lot of greatness that you can bring to the table. And of course, Copilot. So this is the revenue opportunity. And from a cost perspective, as I said, automation of a lot of processes, you are able to reduce, and you're centralizing all of your management and security under a single platform using our ISV partners for multi-tenancy. And that gives you all of the capabilities in one place. Also, the data signals between the products are moving much, much faster, which allow you to do an incident investigation, allow you to understand exactly what is available. And with the news that Andy shared about Microsoft 365, E3, and E5 Intune Suite capabilities, some of them are coming to E3 and all of them coming to E5. This is opening a completely new opportunity with remote help and enterprise privilege management. So you are reducing the access rights from an admin user to a standard user and allow elevation with EPM. You are doing application app management. So you are doing a lot of those, a cloud PKI. All of those capabilities are coming to you. And yes, as Andy mentioned, we report about E3 and E5. It was a lot of questions that we received about education, government, and business premium. If and when we have news, we're definitely going to share. But what MSPs want from Microsoft is very loud and clear. And you in our tech community, please add comments over there if you have more stuff that you want to share with us. But MSP saying, we want to adopt Intune. We want to leverage Intune. We want to use Entra and Defender. Help us understand how to do it. So Andy's going to cover some of the things that we've done so far. We have our MVP, Jonathan Edwards, the bearded guy that is also supporting us. And we have massive amount of MVPs, like one of our MVPs that you're going to see today, that are all over the place to support you and help you. But we're going to do a lot more. So we're going to make sure that Intune is available for MSP. And the first thing that we did is to unblock the multi-tenancy request, leveraging our ISV partners, our partners that offering multi-tenancy capabilities. Then we have the technical training. Yes, even if we give you those ISV partners, Intune requires technical expertise. You need to know what you're doing. You need to understand what the policies are, to manage policies. You need to know how to deploy a device, how to connect a Entra ID to a device ID. You need to know how to give them the right access and everything else. Technical training. we're going to give you a lot more MSP training, and we're actually doing some of that in Right of Boom in Vegas and in Denmark coming up, and Andy's going to share more information, and we're going to continue developing more MSP specific skilling. But we want you to tell us what you're looking for. The point of this session is not to us preaching you Intune. It's to understand from you what we can do in order to help you expand. Then we have the sales and marketing. Let's admit it. Most of us MSPs that we spoke with saying, we came from a business, we really want to help customers. We want to do the geeky stuff. We want to deploy devices. We want to manage. We want to deal with some complex stuff. But we understand that we need to do sales and marketing, because it doesn't matter how great is our solution and our services are. If no one is know about it, no one understands us. We don't know how to speak to our customers to understand that they understand the pain points and explain them what is needed, that it's not going to sound like a sales pitch. And we will help you from a marketing and sales perspective, from awareness. We're going to put a lot more pressure, and we're already doing it. And we see massive, very, very, I wish I could share this, success within this MSP and SMB market up to 5,000 seats. So it's really, really encouraging. So we're going to give you more assets. We're going to give you more information. So you see, this is the call. We're actually going to have another more smaller sets of MSPs that are going to be able to provide us a direct communication that's going to be smaller and invite only. You're going to see us in a lot more events covering the MSP stuff. Again, us being in the Right of Boom this year, which is in the United States in Vegas in 2 weeks' time. It's a big deal, because us as Microsoft never came as organized to those type of MSP and MSSP events. But I can talk about Intune and MSP for forever, because this is a passion of mine. And if you follow me and if you met with me and you saw me, this is something that I care about a lot, because I see this one as a massive, massive opportunity for us to bring all of the management and security to everyone, not just to enterprises. But with that being said, I know that I took a lot of time. I'm available on LinkedIn if you want to reach out and talk to me. Just take into consideration, take some time for me to answer. But I will let Andy continue the conversation over here and take you to the next steps. Please give us feedback. Your feedback is crucial for us to continue. So we are not just seeking to tell you, we want to hear from you. So thank you all, and I appreciate the time.
Thanks, Lior. That was the short version of Lior's pitch, so you're welcome. We're going to use this slide as kind of our guidepost to what we're going to talk about for the rest of the call, at least what I have to talk to you all about. And that first thing is making Intune work for MSPs. First, let me do a little bit of qualification. So all of the information and the data that I'm sharing with you today is a result of us doing a research project. This was back in 2024 when I began. What I'd like to think is like my MSP listening tour. Personally, I came to Intune kind of new about 4 years ago, and then I've been on this MSP journey for the last 2 years, going over the results of 700 surveys, listening to hours and hours of interviews with small and medium-sized businesses, with MSPs who are Microsoft customers, not Microsoft customers, working with non-Microsoft tools all around the globe. And I really got the sense that there's just been a sort of disconnect between the capabilities of Intune and the needs of MSPs. And like Lior mentioned, we're trying to bring that together. So, one of the things that we heard is that there's just challenges for MSPs that are unique that come up when trying to leverage the best value from the Intune and Microsoft 365 stack. And I think the best way to explain the number one ask that we hear is to show it. And so imagine that you're an IT professional at an MSP. Maybe you're hands-on listening to this call, maybe you're not. But you want to go and apply a policy in a customer tenant. You log on, you find the password that you've got archived somewhere, and then you have to do multi-factor authentication. You better be doing multi-factor authentication. And then you go and you push your policy, and that tenant's set, and it's time to move on to the next tenant. And historically, that means that you've got to log out, log into another tenant, re-authenticate, and it's not efficient enough. We just talked about the importance of margins at MSPs. we recognize that this process historically has not been efficient enough for Intune MSPs. Logging in. So this slide starts nice and simple. You can learn all about the solutions. Lior mentioned it, our multi-tenant management partners. We have ISVs, that stands for Independent Software Vendor, or at least it did the last time I checked. At aka.ms/IntuneForMSPs. If you didn't find this call through that page, I want you to find that page through this call. Visit that link. You're going to find, among all of our other resources, this great video that walks through some of the solutions that are available, both premium and community supported, in a video by Jonathan Edwards. This guy's he takes a great pleasure in making his videos really fun, really accessible. He's at Bearded365 guy on YouTube, and he did this for us on our channel, along with a lot of the other MVP videos. So the resource page is a great place to start and stay up with everything in between these calls. All right, so we're on to chapter 2 from my section here, and that's going to be, what are we doing about technical training? Now, we've made some initial efforts based on the research that we did, but again, we want to create the resources, the training, and the way to receive that training that serves you best. So our initial results were that, look, I'm a busy IT professional, and if I work at an MSP, what I've come to understand is I got to wear a lot of hats, right? I need breadth more than depth. And when I personally went to learn Intune, the documentation told me everything I could do. And so the challenge becomes, what should I do in most situations? If I'm an MSP and I'm, time is tight, I don't have time to read all the possibilities and then make decisions. I just want suggestions, right? So Microsoft published what the best practices for getting a small business set up with Microsoft 365, say for example, like a business premium license. So we went out and we had our MVPs make videos that you can follow along with. Get a second screen set up, put the video on the left, put your admin console on the right, and you can follow these instructions. I think it's super helpful. You have to tell us. I mean, they've got a couple thousand views each, so people are following along, but tell us, is this an effective way of learning? Is this a way that you like walking through the console and applying techniques? Now, it's funny, I'm a video maker by trade, but I actually like to read stuff. So I also made some click-through guides. These are self-directed, you go at your own pace, but the same thing, put the guide on the left screen, put your console in front of you on the right. And what I like about these interactive guides that we made is that there's a lot of stuff, when you have to do like a command line or whatever, you can copy and paste a lot of the entries that you need to make. So again, I think these are really helpful. You'll tell me, you'll tell us if these are useful. You'll find the resources at aka.ms/IntuneForMSPs. And now without further ado, pull out your telephones, scan the code. Don't leave this call. There's still lots of value ahead, but I definitely want you, you're going to see this again, but take this survey. The survey isn't how well did we do. We know we have to do better. This survey QR code and this survey link are your tool to give us input. Here's what I want to hear next. Here's the thing that's really going to help me grow my business as an MSP. That's why we're here. That's why we're here, so that you can use the tools that your customers are already paying for to get the most value for them. So tell us, help me help you, as the line goes. All right, we're on to chapter 3, the sales and marketing. Let's make MSP specific assets. So I'm going to go back in time a little bit to tell you about this next section, because ultimately what I'm going to be presenting here is sort of a hypothesis. So at the beginning of 2025, the Microsoft General Manager for Small and Medium Business, Jose Gomez-Cueto, he published, here's what the trends are going to be for 2025. Unsurprisingly, as Lior mentioned, right? Copilot, artificial intelligence, machine learning, that was number 1. But number 2 is talking about cybersecurity as a strategic initiative. I think that's super relevant for us as MSPs. See how I've embodied the MSP characteristic, us as MSPs, right? And remote and hybrid models are here to stay. And I think those are especially salient because when we did our research, like I mentioned earlier, we heard from customers, from MSPs and SMBs, their customers have the same challenges, right? Keeping data safe. How do I make sure that I'm compliant? How do I make sure that our files aren't getting leaked out over the internet, that we're not having breaches? How do I stop phishing and ransomware? And securing access for remote and temporary workers. Those are the same themes that we heard predicted in 2025. And this other nugget that I got from MSPs that I thought was really important was a lot of small and medium businesses saying, we're too small to be attacked. And that's just not the case anymore. Now that AI-powered attack tools are on, it's the cost of launching an attack is trivial, but the cost of recovering from an attack, the reality is businesses aren't too small to be attacked, but they might be too small to recover. So really getting good fundamental security from the beginning is important. And what we found is that a lot of people didn't realize that like Intune can help with that. Intune is in fact a really, I sometimes describe it as like, it's the security stuff that starts where the security software stops. And it's just like that bouncer at the nightclub analogy earlier, right? You've got identity to make sure that the right user is accessing the data. We also want to make sure that they're on the right device. And for whatever reason, we just haven't been able to communicate that very well to MSPs or to small and medium-sized business customers. So the next couple of slides I have are, I want you to take a look at them. We're going to make the deck downloadable. I want you to take a look at them and see if you can work these concepts into your marketing. This is the hypothesis that I have, and it's based on the research. And it basically says that like Microsoft has focused a lot on the enterprise market where like, tell me what the features are, tell me all of your capabilities are, and I can compare them. What we learned is that for smaller and medium-sized businesses, they really want to hear how you're going to help them solve those challenges, right? The number one challenge, how do I keep my data safe and compliant on company devices? So don't talk about endpoint management. I didn't know what endpoint management or device management was when I started here, and it takes a lot of work to solve that, but say, look, you can keep your work data and your personal data separate on a device. And if that device gets lost or stolen, you can remotely wipe the work data. Like that's value. That makes me feel like my device is safer as a customer. So this is the kind of language and messaging the hypothesis is that if we start talking to those smaller and medium-sized business customers, talking about those features, Lior said MDM a lot. That last feature I talked about, that's MDM, but we don't need to say that. Right? We just need to tell you what are you going to get. So this slide here, imagine a bring your own device scenario. You don't have the budget or you're bringing on a temporary worker, so you don't want to issue them a device. But look, work gets done where we are. And we're so used to using our personal and mobile phones. With mobile application management, you can enable somebody with an Entra ID to securely access remote files. They won't be able to screenshot, copy, paste, copy stuff to other data. But if you talk about MAM, you're going to lose your customers. This is our hypothesis, at least. But if you talk about, look, you have a bring your own device solution that lets you get work done without having to buy more devices, maybe that's a more attractive message. So the same concept here with phishing and ransomware protection. Align the story to the concerns that the customer has. This is the hypothesis that we think. So I want you to tell us in that survey, hey, give us more of this, or you know what, we've done a lot of marketing and we find another strategy lands better. But if the simplest messages hit home as we think in our research, then maybe these slides are going to be useful for you in addressing these challenges for securing access for remote workers. And they say sometimes that stats don't land, but I think this stat is really powerful. This is from the Microsoft Digital Defense Report from 2024. But this stat's been floating around for a long time, and that's that the majority of identity attacks, 99%, in fact, are basic password attacks. So if you have multi-factor authentication enabled for your customers, they're going to be able to breathe a lot easier. And so this idea, let's start talking to customers with simple language and a relatable story. We're going to try to create assets specific for MSPs that help you to accomplish this in ways that you can customize for your own branding. And I want to know if assets like these are going to work for you. So again, fill out that survey. It's not about how well we've done. We know we can do better. It's about what exactly is going to be super helpful. So that's enough from me. Now I want you guys to hear from somebody who's really been there. It doesn't pretend to be an MSP, but has really been there. And that is Jeroen Burgerhout.
Thanks, Andy. You said it right this time. Welcome, everybody. My name is Jeroen Burgerhout. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm 2 times Intune MVP and also this year an Identity and Access MVP. Besides my daily job, I'm a member of the Express Live Netherlands team. So Lior, you are invited as well, and Andy, of course. And I'm also a co-host of the Microsoft 365 Modern Management Meetup, and that's just online, so that's fine. I will talk you through to some slides. These slides exist because I made these mistakes myself in the last couple of years. Not just once, but more than once. So if you recognize yourself in any of these points, that's fine. That means that you are exactly the audience that who I'm speaking to. Okay. Fewer tools equals fewer incidents, and fewer incidents equals better scalability. That's my opinion. Early on, I believe that the best of breed tool for every problem would make environments more secure. So we have a product from there, and product from left, etc., many products. But what happened was exactly the opposite. More tools meant more consoles, more alerts, more integrations with each other, and more things that could break. And besides that, you have to train your employees to make use of all these portals. In the end, the engineers became the glue, and that does not scale properly. The moment we reduced tooling and focused on integration, the incident volume went down and consistency went up. So instead that you're using many products from different companies, we just use the Intune portal with all the capabilities in it. So that's for us was this pretty fine. Next slide, Andy. Secure your access before touching the devices. One of my biggest lessons, devices are not the starting point. Most of the times the identity is your starting point. So if you are not secure, if you're not building the access right, not secure enough, it does not matter how well a device is configured. So on the MSP side, if everyone is a global admin, you do not have a security model, but you will have hope. Hope that your accounts are still valid and nobody is walking away with it. Role-based access, that isn't paperwork, it's a way to stay healthy as you grow. So in my opinion, you should implement role-based access. For example, your help desk employees, your second line support, and so on. Yeah. Keeping the baseline simple. We as an MSP, we have one baseline that we will evaluate each month. And we use that baseline to deploy to another customers, of course. I used to think that a perfect baseline had to exist before we rolling that out. In reality, it's just a delayed value, and after some time, it also created some friction. A simple, understandable baseline that improves over time is always winning over a complex one that nobody will understand. So if you can explain your baseline to a customer in 5 minutes, that's fine, not 60 minutes. That's too complex for the customer. Explain the why and not just the what. What I have seen is that users do not resist security, they are resisting confusion. If the customer is hearing like, you can't do this anymore, they will push back. And if they are going to understand why access has been changed or why another Windows prompt is appearing, then the adoption will improve dramatically. So just explain why the new setting is working for you as a customer and not for the end user. Next one. Don't try to migrate everything at once. I have seen too many projects that will fail because the goal was we are moving everything to the cloud instead of we are starting first with creating the access secure. So cloud native is a journey. It's not something like we will start tomorrow and we are going to move everything to Intune, cloud only, okay. No, identity is the first control what you have to check and to implement and to set, etc. Even while your legacy on-premise will still exist. Next one. This is a good one. Do not underestimate the impact of conditional access for users and for devices. Conditional access is pretty powerful. If you are setting something wrong in conditional access, then you will have a problem. Even without any break class accounts, I hope everyone has a break class account. Then you can still access your tenant, but if you're doing something with conditional access, please be aware what you are doing. So roll it out in phases, test and communicate. Start with a clean slate. This one I will say like don't look at your Active Directory, GPOs. Start with a greenfield environment and build everything slowly again for your new modern workplace managed by Intune. Yeah, you can import GPOs. No, you don't have to import GPOs. Please start over again. Less policies, less settings, etc. Standardization beats customization. We are, as an MSP, we deliver standardization policies. And if the customer wants something else, perfect, then we'll do that for them. So we have, just what I said, we have a package of standard policies, and then on top of that, some customizations, customer specific. Now, what I will do tomorrow as an MSP, yeah, very clear. Pick one customer, what you have in your portfolio for a pilot. So start small, nothing special, not your messiest environment. Pick a customer which you trust, so you can make some agreements with them. And again, this is not a complete migration project because it is a learning project. And with the learning project, you have a goal, and that goal is not perfection, but it's experience. Experience for you and experience for the customer. Review your identity. Of course, security is a hot topic everywhere. And please check your MFA, your conditional access, and also your risky users. So before you touch a single device, look at the access, who can sign in, from which country, and under which conditions. If identity is not secure, everything else is window dressed. Now, just like what I said earlier, create a simple Intune baseline. Start with the basics, compliancy, updates, core security settings, etc. And again, build from the ground up and not import your existing GPOs. Defender for business, defender for endpoint. Security tools only add value if someone is paying attention. So what you have to plan in your agenda or whatever, check regularly once a week the review alerts, what are the trends on the devices, and also the risk levels, of course. Not to panic, but again, to learn. and document a standard onboarding flow. With other words, document your Intune baseline, not a 50-page document, please. Yeah, sorry, I know I have it 50 plus document, but keep it simple, as less as possible, of course. And over time, make some changes to the document if you're also making changes to your policies, of course.
All right, well, Jeroen, thank you so much for sharing your experience, getting vulnerable with us, right? Nobody likes to talk about the mistakes that they have made, but I hope you and our audience have found this really valuable. Jeroen has videos on our How to Get Started video series that I alluded to earlier, and offers a ton of value as an MVP. So be sure to check his stuff out. We're coming into that what's next portion. So everybody help me say goodbye and thank you to Jeroen as I tell you where you're going to find Intune live. So Lior has a lot of miles under his belt, and we like to bring the Intune team, members of the product group and the business group, out to events and talk to MSPs. This is a great opportunity to meet with us in person. Keep an eye out for Lior. And you can, he mentioned we're going to be at Right of Boom, Las Vegas, February 3rd and 5th. I say we, I will not be at Right of Boom. In Copenhagen for Experts Live Denmark. And later on, if you're going to the Modern Endpoint Management Summit in Paris, that should be lovely. And keep an eye out for the Intune folks who will also be there. All right, news you can use. If you're not a technical person, make sure you forward this information to your technical staff, because next week, Monday, January 26th, on this channel, the Tech Community Live channel, if you're watching us on Tech Community Live, we're going to do an Ask Microsoft Anything series. There's going to be 4 1-hour Ask Microsoft Anything presentations on Intune topics. Really interactive, really deep dive. If you've got questions that you're pretty sure I can't answer, that's going to be a great place to go and do that. And for all the other questions you have, and even for the questions you think I can't answer, we want to hear them. Put them in the survey, respond. You're going to see that link again at least once, and maybe more than once. So again, we're trying out, here's this news you can use. So let us know, hey, yeah, I do want to know where I can run into Lior at events. I do want to know what other Intune news is out there. And so we're going to try sharing with you some of the salient product updates. These are 3 updates that are going GA, which is generally available. Doesn't necessarily all happen at the same time, but they become generally available in a release of update that's coming up soon. So first that I think is really relevant is a new feature called Auto Patch Update Readiness. So Auto Patch, if you're not familiar, is a real game changer in terms of how do you set up progressive deployment of updates in a way that allows you to catch mistakes before they have a broad impact, right? You release it to a small group of devices, then in increasingly larger groups. Well, AutoPatch has just introduced this update readiness report, which looks for common blockers, things like, oh, there's not enough space available on the hard drive for this update and other things, and reports tenant-wide on all the devices that are on a tenant, not just the ones that are already in AutoPatch, and says whether or not they are going to be a good fit for AutoPatch enrollment and for taking the next update. And they really improved the status reporting on that. So if you've ever been frustrated by a status report that says in progress, you're going to be thrilled that these get a little more granular. The next feature is really exciting. This one we announced at Ignite. We're calling it admin tasks. And it basically in the Intune admin portal, in the user interface, there is going to be a one-click area that collects a lot of the different tasks that used to be spread out throughout the console, so that your Intune administrators can have an easier time working through that. And we like to say that, yeah, we want to make Intune work for MSPs. We want to make it for the people that actually administer tenants, no matter where they are. So admin tasks, I think, is going to be a big one. And then the other thing that we announced recently and that's going GA is the ability during autopilot to the ability to set a policy that will apply quality updates during the out-of-box experience. So we like to think of updating as a real security aspect. And it's true. You want to make sure that you're applying the updates that you need. Updates are created to resolve security gaps. So applying updates keeps you secure. And we think that the user experience of having those quality updates applied during OB, as they call it in the business, is going to help the end user have a better, more secure experience. Because what happens, you get to the desktop and then you learn that you have to apply an update, and the time to productivity just drops. And as an MSP, you want to provide that great experience for your customers and users. So that is what is coming to Intune in the near future. We hope you can find that. Now let's talk about what's coming up the next session. Guess what? The agenda, it's going to be set by you. Lior told me I can't mention it enough, and I think this is true. I cannot mention it enough that you are going to be the authors of this content, or at least you're going to ask what experts I should bring. We've already lined up an expert speaker who can speak broadly about the MSP experience of working with Intune and the Microsoft 365 stack. He's already done a couple of videos for us. On that resource page, you can find those. But February 17th, the same start time, MVP Steve Weiner from Get Rubix is going to be here. And the login details are at Join Intune for MSPs. And again, the agenda is going to be set by you. And you might be saying, Andy, what's that link again? Here it is, aka.ms/Intune MSP survey. Pull out your phone, scan the QR code, take the survey now. We are on our glide path down to a resolution of the call. Thank you all for sticking with us today. Just remember, if it wasn't everything you hoped for today, it will be next week if you tell us what you want to hear. So take advantage, take that survey. And I've just got 2 more slides for you today. One is we made the announcement about the about the Intune Suite technology coming to E3 and E5 licenses. This is a blog that has all the release details that you could want, aka.ms/Intune Suite added, or scan this QR code. And again, you're going to get a PDF of these available to download from the resource page if you lose these or if I've moved too fast. But this is our announcement blog that'll take you deeper into what to expect in that release. And here's a feature I'm trying out. Read one thing. So the idea is, look, we're all super busy, but if you only read one thing this month, I think it should be this 2026 technology trends and what SMBs and partners should do now article. This is from Jose Gomez Cueto, who I said is the SMB GM here at Microsoft. For 10 years, he's been thinking about and studying this area of the business. It's relevant to MSPs. We know a lot of your customers are in that small or medium-sized business. I thought this article was great because it has actionable steps. What should you go do? He calls it partners, but even if you're not a part of the partner ecosystem, these are recommendations for how you can get ahead of, guess what? Agentic AI and machine learning are, again, top trends. And this article, I think, and let me know when you take that survey, if this is worth reading. And with that, we're at the end of the deck. I'm going to leave you with the Intune MSP survey QR code so that if you, for some reason, didn't get it, if you like this call, that's awesome. And if you didn't, this is the way to make sure the next one is even more worth your time. We know that, and we told you, we know that you are busy, and our purpose here is just to create value, just to help you get more from your business. I'm privileged to have the opportunity to interact with so many MSPs and people in this space, and I'm really moved by the spirit of community, right? There's a lot of co-opetition, and so we want this to be a place where everybody gets better and we can start really evolving our business for the future, which Lior pointed to can look a little scary. And we want you to move forward with confidence. And with that, I'd say that a 50-minute call is much better than a 60-minute call. Thank you again for being here with us today. We are making Intune work for MSPs. We hope to see you again next time. Thanks so much.